Today's webinar is about our product portfolio, so about what we are doing with Signost, with ID Proof. And we're starting on a little refresher on our product portfolio, and then are going to dive in the individual elements and, of course, what was done, what we will be doing, and yeah, maybe also some deep dives in some subjects. My name is Paul Loot. I'm a product manager at Signost. Yeah, Signost is a cloud signing solution for signing documents digitally. And on the other end, I also manage the ID Proof product that we use for signing documents remotely. And in this webinar, I'm going to tell about our product updates, our product roadmap. Some announcements first. We are with quite a large group, so if you guys have any questions, please post them in the Q&A subject of this Teams meeting. My colleagues are also in the chat, and they are also able to answer your questions directly. But at the end of every subject, I'll take some time to also check the questions and see if they hit some sort of bigger subject that can be very worth to discuss also during the webinar. We have a lot of time scheduled, so don't hesitate to ask these questions. Looking forward also for an interactive session. And although that's difficult with such a large audience, at least by posing questions, you can help, of course, steer the direction of this webinar and ask things that you are very aching to hear about. So yeah, with that being said, let's start. So on the agenda, first we have the refresher on the portfolio. Then we are taking a look more at the front end of our Signost platform. So what have we been doing in our portal, and what will we be doing in our portal and the rest of our front end. Then we are moving more to the technical stuff. So what is our plan and what have we been doing around our API and our integrations and our backend. Then we are going more into identified signing, and what kind of identities are we linking with and looking to link with, to help also answer your questions about maybe reaching out further into transactions abroad, identities abroad. Then we are talking about ID Proof. What have we been doing with ID Proof and with documents and selfie checking for approving identity. And last but not least, our mobile app to show you guys updates are in the works for that one. So with that being said, let's move first to our refresher on the product portfolio. So as you guys have probably heard, with Evidos and with Signost now for more than a year, we've been acquired by Entrust. And Entrust is an international company already existing for over 50 years. Really focusing on all kinds of digital identities, digital infrastructure, digital security. And with Signost and with ID Proof, we got a place in that portfolio, really enhancing and also bringing to the cloud different building blocks around identity, around security, around infrastructure. So during our summit and also in other presentations, we did more of a deep dive in how we and Entrust fit together and what our strategy and goals are for that matter. In this webinar, I'm keeping the focus on our products and how identity verification and digital signatures is slated to improve in the upcoming period. But in this slide, I also wanted to give a bit of clarity on how we fit in and interact with the broad Entrust portfolio of solutions. So in that sense, we are focusing on the digital signatures, of course, with Signost and the identity verification with ID Proof. But we can use Entrust products such as Entrust certificates, Entrust identities, also as part of Signost to make our services better and to offer more. So our two core products that we have been developing and bringing to the market are Signost and ID Proof. Signost is our first product. That is our cloud service for digitally signing and inviting people to sign documents. That has been around the longest, and we always had a strong focus also on signing with identities. So as you see in the market, there is a lot of digital signing happening, and a lot of digital signatures are being placed by maybe drawing a scribble or writing the name. But we see that in the digital world, much more is possible. And yeah, we already in the Netherlands and also abroad are very familiar with using identities such as maybe DigiID, bank IDs such as IDIN, and we combine those identities with a signature to really be sure with whom you're doing business. So that's the core focus of Signhost. On the other hand, we have ID Proof. That's a more recent product that we introduced a year or 3-4 back. And that's really focusing on identifying people remotely by using their government ID, which could be a passport or an ID card. And with the availability of good mobile cell phones, everybody has one nowadays that have good cameras, and also passports and ID cards that have digital elements, such as an MRZ or a chip, we can combine the both and really have a person remotely identify themselves without having to go to an office or send copies or anything. So those are the two core products we bring to market, and also in this webinar where we are going to talk about and show a bit of a roadmap for. As part of this recap, I think also good to understand how Signhost can be used. So we have a few ways to interact with our product. One of them most people are familiar with is, of course, our web portal. You can go to our website, enter your password and username, or go to our portal, and from there start inviting people to sign documents. And that's a very easy, quick way also to go to market and start signing document digitally. We recently expanded this front end also with a mobile app. So you can also use your mobile phone with an app to go to Signhost and invite people to sign the documents and then manage the invitations there. So without any integration necessary, you can go ahead and invite people for signing. Next is our API. And the API is really the core engine behind Signhost. So this is really something that you can integrate into your own back office in your own systems. This API is very powerful. Our portal and our app are also using it. So that's really the under the hood engine that makes signing possible. You can automate transaction creation with it, but also get status updates back. For example, who has already signed the document, who still has to do it, and automatically can get, for example, the signed documents back. So that's our API. It enables easy integration. So we try to keep up with very modern web languages. It's fully written in JSON. It's we use .NET a lot ourselves. So that really helps make integration easy. The third one in the list, that's a bit of an addition on top of Signhost, and those are web forms. So as you might know, you can have fillable documents. So if you have a PDF that you want to have filled in and you need some more information from a signer to complete before they can sign their own contract, you can, of course, upload a PDF that is fillable, but you could also use our web forms product. And with web forms, what we do is that we really make the data entry easy. So they don't have to scout the PDF to find the fields that they need to fill in, but we can on one UI just ask them for information, they fill it out, and in the end they sign their contract and they're good to go. Last in the list is connecting with standard modules. So we work together a lot with partners in different verticals, different horizontals. So we have partners in childcare, partners in finance, partners in HR that are providing services. And Signhost integrates into these partner platforms. So that way you usually see that there's a lot of business logic going on for contract generation or for getting the signed results back. And yeah, we try to combine and have the Cynost API run with these partners as much as possible, because yeah, that really makes both the solution of our partners and Cynost stronger. So for that, we also have some standard modules that we bring to market. So for example, we have a Google Cloud plugin, so you can, for example, send an invitation to sign via Google Drive or Gmail. So in a nutshell, that's our portfolio and how Cynost can be used and accessed. Yeah, as a reminder, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to use the QA tab for that. My colleagues can answer the chat while it's happening, but also once in a while, take a quick break, check at the Q&A, so I can also answer your questions and maybe give some more context on how we envision our products helping out with it. So next up is the portal and front end. So yeah, I've managed to have this webinar in some subjects. So first up, we are going to take a look at the portal and the front end, what we've been doing and what we are going to do moving forward. So we have yeah, quite a list of features that we brought in the previous year to our portal and our front end. So I'm going to walk through them and also give a bit more context and do a deep dive. But as a summary, here on the list are the features that we brought to the portal in the last year. A big one, I think one that was requested really a lot by you customers, is the document viewer and the drag and drop. So with that, you're able to view the document before sending it out for signing, just to make sure that you actually got the right PDF from your computer instead of a different one. And later, we also added drag and drop on there to make it possible to yeah, put a signer signature, or at least a position where you want it, on a document with a nice UI interface. Of course, we still have the signer tags, so the little bit of text you can put in the PDF or the Word document. So especially if you have the same document that you reuse a lot, or a template document that is being changed, but the signer block is always the same, yeah, then it's probably easier to add the bit of text to the PDF. But if you are receiving a document that is new or that you don't use that often, you can easily use our drag and drop feature to place the signature position in the right location. And then when you send it out, you're at least sure that the signer signs and that their signature will go there without needing to edit PDFs or change text. So yeah, this was, I think, one of our most requested features. So with our expansion of our front-end development team, we're really happy that we brought this to you in the past year. Next up, also a feature that was requested a lot, is two-factor login to the portal. So before we only supported username and password combinations, but since a few months we also support two-factor login to the portal. We use an authenticator app for that, and yeah, that is a default protocol. It's called 2OTP, and that's being used a lot in the market. So you have, for example, the Google Authenticator app, you have the Microsoft Authenticator app, you have other third-party apps like Authy, and yeah, these all use the same protocol where you are getting a six-digit number back. You type it in, and that enables you to sign into the portal. So this works now with these authenticator apps. Everybody can go to the web portal, they can go to their profile and their account, and they can start setting up authenticator apps to a secure portal signing. This also helps. For example, you can go to the user management screen, and you can see there which of your teammates have set up 2FA. So it's not yet possible to enforce it, so that you can say, for example, all my users must set up 2FA, but at least right now you can see who set it up and who hasn't set it up yet. So that can also help at least enforce the security policy in your organization by asking people to enroll with 2FA and also checking if they have actually done that. just to secure in a better way access to the portal. Yeah, we have the possibility to always ask for 2FA, but users can also say, I want to store my 2FA on this device for 2 weeks. And that way they don't have to type in the key every time they sign in. But when they have their computer or laptop, they only have to do the two-factor once every 2 weeks. And then the device is remembered. So that helps secure, but also doesn't become a big hurdle every time you sign in. Next on the list, it's a little addition, but something that was also requested a lot and gave a lot of clarity for people managing their transactions. So we added some more metadata and info about the transactions that were created. So for example, some questions like when will the next reminder go out and to what signer will it go out? When will the transaction expire? But also what kind of IDIN information or certificate information was gathered during signing. So that way you know, for example, who signed the document by checking the portal and seeing all the details coming back from the identity methods without having to open the full PDF and check there what came back. So that's really easy at a glance to see, oh yeah, we had this person using IDIN, for example, with this name and this address, just so you're sure that the transaction is going well without having to wait until all the signers have signed or by opening the PDF. Next up in the front end, it's straddling also a bit, of course, what we were doing in the API, but we added a developer menu. So in the past, if you wanted to manage your developer keys, you had to ask us. Nowadays, you can go to this menu, create an app key there and manage it to be able to access our API, but also manage postback URLs. Postback URLs we use to automatically push status updates to some web address. So that can be used to automatically update your system, for example, when the document has been signed, that you don't have to go to our portal or request it, but you get a status update proactively from us. So in the API, that's very handy, but you can also create a postback URL from the portal right now, and that's sending any update. So no matter if you've created a transaction in our API or in our portal, by giving up a postback URL in this menu, your backend system will receive updates. So that can be very handy to at least partially automate where you are still creating transactions in the portal, but for example, automatically get the signed result and a status update in another system. So that combination can be interesting. We've also added some security measures there. Sorry. So you can add security headers there. So every postback we send is secured by a header. Next up is email domain management. So as you might know, we have a paid feature where you can set up your own email domain. So that means that any email we send is not originating from noreply@sinos.com, but is actually originating from your own email domain. This can, of course, really help because for signers, it's a very recognizable email. So it helps in your customer journey to send emails that they really expect. So it can increase conversion and it can really speed up signing. In the past, if you wanted this after purchasing, we gave some credentials and then you had to, on your web domain, and set up those keys. We had to check manually, and when we checked it, we could activate it. So it was a long process. Now we have created a menu where you can do this fully self-service. So if you have this feature purchased, you can go to your branding menu in the portal. You can enter your domain, and we will automatically give back keys you can set up on your website, and we can automatically check if those keys are right. And the moment our system detects that all the keys are put in correctly, we automatically switch you over from No Reply at Signhost to your own email domain. So in that sense, yeah, we brought this management to the front, and you can do it yourselves nowadays to yeah, really quickly set up your own email domain. So that was a bit of a recap on everything we've done. So the list, yeah, some features that really help the usability, and also some menu and self-service features, so you can manage your own Signhost account without needing to ask our customer success team to help you do it. Yeah, that concludes our portal recap. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat or the Q&A menu. Let's move on to the look ahead. Because the look ahead of our portal, we've been doing a lot, and I think we've also mentioned it in some of our newsletters and during our summit. And in this webinar, I want to take a bit more of a deep dive into where we're going with our new portal design and layout, and our redesign of how we envision it working. So we've had quite a journey for this new UI behind us. I think last year we've started with doing a lot of research and interviewing some customers and performing some validation tests, just to understand how are people using our existing portal, what wishes and requirements do they have, where do they feel uncertain about how to use it. And we've set ourselves the goal that everybody should be able to send out a signing transaction and manage them without needing a tour or without needing to speak to our customer success team, but by really making a UI and a layout that feels intuitive and can really help them in their daily work. So we gathered all that feedback, we gathered a lot of questions, and this year we set on to design it, validate that design with some customers, and also build the actual new portal. As a matter of fact, our closed beta went live yesterday, so that's also good timing. I can show you a bit next up, but we are looking at a full rollout next year, where every customer will be able in the portal to switch to the new design, to start using it in their daily work, to give us feedback to improve, so that hopefully by the end of next year, that yeah, everybody can use it and we can start closing down the existing one. So without further ado, let's yeah, go and have a quick feature overview, and then I'm going to share screen and walk you through what we already have. So in our new portal, some core features, and yeah, there is a lot in, but I try to really keep it high level. First up is that we moved the dashboard to a dashboard with actual relevant data. So today, if you open up the portal, yeah, you see the dashboard. There is a welcome message and there are some notifications, but it's not really a lot of useful information. So we checked what customers would find useful, and we added that to the dashboard. Going to show it in a bit. Next up is also an overhaul of the transaction creation to yeah, really make the process modern and self-explanatory, and also rework our drag and drop feature a bit to make it easier to use. So the drag and drop right now that we introduced was really laying the groundwork to make it a good new feature in the new portal. We're also looking to incorporate an address book, so it helps that you do not need to retype or remember the signer's address every time. And we all yeah, port this in a very responsive and modern UI. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to share my screen, and then let's walk through it. So I did a quick switch over to our existing portal. So yeah, you guys probably all know it, but this is what we have right now. The new transaction environment, the old transaction overview, and the dashboard. Um, but we now have our closed beta. Some customers will already be invited and we are looking to roll it out, but I'm going to switch to this new beta version to show you what we've built. So this is our new portal UI. So as you can see, it looks completely different. We had a bit of a logo overhaul. We have a new color. And also, we have a new way of presenting the information that you're actually seeing right here. So this is our new dashboard. And what we've really tried to do here is to make a dashboard that is relevant for the daily work if you work in the portal. So for example, what we're showing here is the bundle. I'm on my demo account, so I don't have a bundle, but normally you would see here as a portal admin how far your credits are along and when your next billing is. For the non-portal admins, you won't see credits, but you will see, of course, your transactions. And here up top, we are categorizing transaction data. So for example, we show here the amount of transactions needing attention because maybe they failed or somebody rejected them. So it's very easy to click and you can go straight ahead, see the transaction and understand why it was canceled. On the other hand, we have expire soon. Of course, that's also important because if you have a transaction that has expired, then you're too late. So with this new menu item, we really wanted to show what is going to expire because then you still have the time to send them a reminder, give them a call, at least hopefully entice them to sign a document before it actually expires, and then so you don't have to recreate the transaction. The other one is pending. Pending is blue, and pending is just any transaction that is open because somebody still has to sign it. And last but not least, a good overview of who signed the transaction and the amount of transactions signed. And by clicking those tiles, it instantly transports you to the transaction overview with that specific filter. So it's very easy to understand what transactions are in a certain status and to act upon that. More below is the list of recent activities, and this is not sorted by created. So this is also sorted by the last activity. So for example, these transactions were signed yesterday. This transaction failed yesterday. This transaction was created by me yesterday. So in this way, you can really see not an overview from when the transaction was created, but actually when an activity was performed. And this is also a context sensitive menu. So for something that was just created, or maybe one of the signers signed, you just want to go there and see what happened. But for transactions that were actually signed, you want to press this button and this will automatically download the PDF for you. So that's a very easy and quick way to do the work. This is also tying in with our broader transaction overview. It works a bit similar to what's already in the portal. You can easily filter based on status, have a date range on when the transactions are in, and have a overview and transaction details where you can see exactly what's happening. So also for support reasons, we made it very easy to copy the transaction ID or to make a bit of a print for this page if you ever have any questions and need to ask us via live chat what's up. And on the other hand, you can see here out of the box the activities. When will the next reminder go out? You can see if this transaction was created in order. With multiple signers, you can see exactly whose turn is it. And we also have a way to email or copy the signing link so you can send your own reminder. So the entire environment has been completely overhauled. And right now in our closed beta, we have the dashboard and the transaction page available. As you see, the other pages are still placeholders. So yeah, these will be released at a later moment. So that will be something that comes later. And we also have some placeholders for the new features that we are also bringing. But in a nutshell, yeah, that was the new portal. And yeah, we will invite everybody in the upcoming period to start interacting with it, give us feedback. And in the portal, you will see an invitation and also a feedback button to help us out, improve it, to really yeah, build it based on what you want and what you expect. I'm going to switch back to the presentation and let's continue. Right. So I've shown you the dashboard and the all transaction page that is already present in the new portal. And here I also wanted you with pictures to give a bit of a look ahead on the next pages and what we're going to do. So a big one is the new transaction page, of course. That is next up. So in our beta, this is the first page that we will be adding. And here you see that there are some improvements being done. So we improved the way to specify signers. Of course, it's now part of our new overall design. But as you can see in the top, also for very new customers, we also help to explain the credit estimation. So we are getting always some questions from new customers saying, "Hey, I'm trying out your new Sinos Go. I want to investigate if this can work for my organization, but I don't really understand what a credit is or what a credit does." So what we're trying here is to also show in real time when you add an extra signer, when you upload a document, when you select an SMS, for example, what it will do for the estimated balance that will be deducted when you hit send. It's not something we will have in your face for everybody. For example, if you are working as part of a big organization and you have a team of 20 people working with Signhost, yeah, maybe having the credit calculation in their face at all times is a bit much. But especially for new people and admins trying out our system, seeing if it's a fit, this is something we add. And I think also a big addition to the transaction creation is that what we are going to do with the document preparation. So I've shown you earlier in this webinar what we are doing with the document viewer and the drag and drop in our existing portal. But in the new portal, we are looking to really expand on that feature and make dragging and dropping even easier. But also, we've laid the groundwork on also dragging and dropping fields like text fields and checkboxes and saving that configuration. So that also really should help yeah, tie in all these features into Signhost. What I've shown you in the portal is, of course, it's already there. It's part of the beta, but these pages are, yeah, we are working on them. So might happen that some stuff will slightly change, but yeah, this should give you a good overview of where we are going to with our new portal. We're also looking to overhaul the sign badges. So the sign badges is now part of our portal, but we want to improve the UI a bit and are also looking at some performance increases so that yeah, they are working more reliably. So this is the design we have envisioned for the sign badges. So that's a little look ahead. Of course, the other pages will also get a facelift. So if you look at the menu, we have our branding that we want to improve. We have the settings and the user management pages. So more information on that will, of course, follow as part of our beta. So yeah, when you have access to the beta, we will invite everybody in the upcoming period. You will also get the updates on which page is coming and when. So how does our rollout look like for this new portal? So we've identified 4 phases, and we have a broad planning on when we see that we can go live with these 4 phases. So right now we are in the new portal rollout. So that means that we are able to activate it. It's running on production. It passed all the security audits and all the code audits. So that was a huge milestone for us. And now we are also able in the closed beta to start showing these limited pages that are live right now. Afterwards, we are adding all the pages, so we have full parity with the existing portal. So a big one, of course, is the new transactions page, but also think about the settings, the menu, all these pages. So yeah, we are hoping that we can have the parity with all the pages that you are using on a daily basis somewhere end of Q1 of the next year. And when we have full parity, that will mean that we can do not a beta anymore, but a full go live with all the feedback in, where we can say, okay, now the new portal is the primary portal. And everybody that's starting to work with Signhost is not seeing the old portal anymore, but is working in the new portal. And then in phase 4, we can start shutting off the old portal and have everybody, also the existing people, use our new portal fully. Our new portal is completely rewritten, so it's making use of new front-end frameworks, which really enables us with our new front-end team to develop and improve on it quickly. To really do a lot of continuous releasing where we can add features in a matter of days. So yeah, that is a big milestone for us. We've put a lot of work into that in the past 2 years. So yeah, happy to see it going live. I'm really looking forward to hear the feedback of you, our customers, as that is of course the most important to decide direction on where do we want to go with this. That concludes our portal and front-end lookout. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to use the chat or Q&A widget. And afterwards, let me check if there are some questions in. I see some questions coming in. One of them is, will anything change in the user interface of the signer in the new portal? Yeah, that's a very good question, because right now we are focusing on the portal, and the portal is of course the place where people go to invite people for signing and to manage the transactions. But in the end, that also means that we are not only overhauling our portal, but we want at a later state to also bring our viewer up to par and use our new front-end framework and our team to also improve the portal the transaction viewer that our signers interact with. So that's not something we are doing right now. It will be something that we are doing after the new portal is fully live. And also there, we will gather feedback. We will have a good understanding of how signers are using it and where they do have questions, and use that feedback to wireframe and then design. But that project will probably start next year. Another question is, when is it possible to use email domain management? So adding and configuring your email domain for enterprise customers, that's already possible. So if you have an enterprise bundle, we can activate this management menu for you today. For self-service customers, we are looking to also activate this management where people can purchase that. Somewhere I hope this quarter, so that self-service customers can also start using it within a month or two. If there are other questions, don't hesitate to ask them. I'm going to continue to our next subject, which is our API. So the API is what's running under the hood for Signhost, and also the engine a lot of our customers interact with when they've integrated Signhost. So a little recap on what we've done on the API. I think biggest is that we invested heavily into increasing the performance. So yeah, we really, of course, with Signost and the amount of customers, we've really grown. There are a lot of new people signing every day. There are a lot of new customers also creating transactions and managing those. So yeah, for us, it's always primary to keep up and also move to improve the transaction performance. So how quick can you create a transaction, have an experience without issues or timeouts for the end user? That's always for our API priority number one. And yeah, I'm really happy to say, compared to, for example, 2 years back or last year, that our API uptime has never been so high. So we are really very high in the 99.9% of uptime. We are very transparent about that. So if you go to status.signost.com, you can see our uptime, and we are also having automated monitoring. But yeah, we see a very consistent performance where transactions can be created quickly and people are able to sign without issue. So yeah, as you might know, especially for customers who've been around a bit longer, a year or three back, we had a major migration from an old hosting partner to a new hosting partner. And that took a lot of work, but yeah, we're really happy right now that that paid off, and that gives our teams the possibility to also work on more features and improvements, because we are comfortable that our uptime is where we want it to be. Some more recaps on what we've done and added to the API. One of them is secure download for download URLs. So as you might know, when a document has been signed, we can distribute via email, or you can distribute yourself the download URL. So we have some customers that do not want to distribute the PDF themselves via email, for example, but they want us to distribute the signed results. Maybe because they don't have a portal or a way to distribute a document to a signer that you see only once. So what we've added to our API is secure download. So you can now make an API call and say, I want this person to sign the document with, for example, an SMS second factor. So then they will get an email, and they can only access and view the document by first typing in their SMS two-factor. Then they sign, and then we distribute the signed results, and the signers will get an email with the signed result in it, but they can only see it and access it when they reuse that same SMS two-factor. So they will also get an SMS, they type in the code, and only then will they be able to download. So yeah, that can really help for customers, because they can use our distribution channel via the email, so they don't have to build or manage their own distribution. We can take care of it, but they can secure the distribution with a second factor like SMS or DigiID. So that way, email becomes a secure distribution channel, because people can only sign or download the results when they also have possession of a second factor. So yeah, that's a nice feature, because a lot of customers are always asking questions like, hey, is email distribution safe enough? If you are uncertain about email distribution, use secure downloads with a second factor like SMS, and that really brings the level of security for document distribution a level higher. Next up is API generated form sets. So this is something we are looking to re-release very shortly, hopefully by early next week. It's a feature we've built that improves how our API is handling form sets. So as you might know, in a PDF document, it's possible to fill out information with the blue boxes, for example, a name field or a checkbox. And in our API, we have the capability to generate these text boxes. So you can, for example, when you create a transaction, say, I want to let persons fill out a box here, here, and here, and I want to put the signature there, and have the API take care of that, for example, by coordinates or for searching for a specific word. We'll put the boxes on there. But that feature was always focusing more on one signer. So we had no good way to distinguish with two signers. And there are use cases for that. For example, you have an organization where you are on the phone with a customer, and your sales colleague is filling out some information that the customer is saying. For example, we want to purchase this and that. This will be the price. Then the sales colleague signs, and then the document goes over to your customer, and your customer fills out the rest of the information, like maybe they want an add-on, maybe they want to type in their address details. They also sign, and then you have a signed contract containing both information your sales colleague filled out and information the customer filled out. Another use case is partners, for example. Maybe there are two partners signing a loan agreement or a guarantor agreement, for example. Partner A is filling out their information, signs. Partner B is filling out their information, also signs. And then you have a signed PDF with all the content in there without having to request that information before sending it out in the contract generation. So with these form set improvements, we support multi-signer filling out of information. And they are also not seeing the other person's form, so there is no unclarity. So that's also a nice feature that we expect to be live as soon as possible. So keep an eye on our product page for that. A look ahead for our API. Yeah, and as you see, there are a little less screenshots here, but of course, it's always difficult to make screenshots for the API. But as a summary, of course, an ongoing focus is our performance increases. So we have a dedicated team just working on performance increases, testing what is slow, where we can improve, and also looking at our architecture to support our future growth. Next is for our API customers, it can be a big one because we are looking in the upcoming few years to start phasing out the user token. So as you know, if you want to create a transaction from the API or from a partner software, right now you have to copy and create a user token in the portal, copy it, send it, paste it, and then this user token authorizes you to send transactions via the API from a user. We want to move to OAuth 2 there. So OAuth 2 is a framework, and maybe you've ever linked your Google or your Microsoft calendar to your CRM. It's a framework that's being used a lot to link two pieces of cloud software together. And we are looking to also work with OAuth 2. So that means that when you want to link your API to a user and they want to create a transaction, they fill out their username password, they make a link between their Signos account and your system, and from that moment on, you are good to go to create transactions from their account. OAuth 2 is the most used protocol for these kinds of API authorizations, so this will be a nice improvement, keeping up with international standards around this. Of course, for our phase out, it's not something that we are doing on very short notice. So first we want to get our OAuth in the wild. We want to do some testing on it, where our app and where our portal is using it. We want to bring it to our customers and partners so they can also start working with it. And then if we decide to phase out the user token, we will communicate well in advance. But it's not something we are looking to do in 2024, for example. It's just good that you know that we are working on this. Last on the list is improving around the sign badges. So sign badges are now possible to use from our portal. We also want to for customers to be able to fetch the sign badges from the API. So that way they can do an API call for a specific user with OAuth to get the sign badges for that specific user in a link and redirect the user to that link. So that can really help for internal people that sign a lot of documents, to do that not from the portal, but embedded into your own CRM or your own application, for example. And also in our API backend processing, we are looking to improve signed batch performance. So for example, that we limit the amount of signed documents in there to prevent timeouts and to do fetching of all the signed batches in a better way to improve speed. So yeah, that's a short look ahead on what we're looking to do with our API. Are there any questions about that? I'm looking at the Q&A. I'm seeing one question about secure download setting. Yes, so secure download is possible in an individual transaction. So if you do an API call, you can say on a per signer basis even that person only for that transaction has or will have to download the documents in a secure way. And it's also combinable in one transaction. So for example, you could say, I create a transaction with 5 signers, but 4 of them I know because they are my own employees. I trust that their email will be safe. But there is one person that I do not know that well, and I want this person to perform a secure download. That's all possible in our API. Another question is how many transactions will be supported by the batch signing process in the new portal? I think we are looking at 2 things there. So one of them is that we are doing some load testing and performance checking to really see how far can we go. So how many transactions can we reliably show in the batch signing without batch signing overloading or having performance problems. On the other hand, we also want to implement failsafe so that we are simply capping the amount of transactions in the batch. So for example, it's running and we see after 20 seconds that it's starting to take some time. Then we just say, okay, this signing batch now has 20 transactions. And if you go back to the signing batches, because maybe in total you have 50 transactions waiting for you, there will be a new tile with the next 20 transactions, for example. So it's something we are hashing out and working on from a design perspective to really strike the balance between performance and being able to sign as much in one batch as possible. But at least we prefer then that they have to sign more batches to the fact that they will run into some timeout issues. So that's what we're going to work on. Another question just in, is it possible to copy the transaction to another signer? They have to sign the same document, but not in the same transaction. Yeah, that depends a bit on the use case, because in one way it can be very easy to for example, in our API, there we see these kind of bulk sign requests happening, so that customers automatically create transactions where they keep uploading the same PDF, but then every time adding a new signer and then automate the sending of these transactions in bulk. If you use our portal, we do not have that, but we do see this happening a lot with our web form capabilities. So an example where web forms are being used is, for example, for signing documents against rights. So sometimes we see, for example, there is an entire football team and they all have to sign an agreement that their photos or their likeness can be used in marketing materials or something like that. It's always the same contract, but it's more that there is a whole list of people who need to sign it. And in a web form, what you can do is create one link, send all the people there. They will fill out their own names and the other stuff you need to create the document. The web form will create a PDF. They sign, and you will get an API call or an email back with that contract in there. So especially if we are talking about some higher volumes, like maybe 200-300 more people all need to sign the same document, then it can be really handy to think about web forms. Right. That brings us at the end of our API subject and on to identified signing. And identified signing, yeah, this is a category we've made because it really straddles some things. It's something you can do from our API. It's something that happens in the portal. But yeah, it warrants its own subject because using identities for signing documents, it's relevant for a lot of our customers. And yeah, we are innovating a lot in this category. So that's why we've made it its own category. But in the end, yeah, if you create a transaction in Signost and you select a certain identity, it's identified signing. So it's not something completely new or unrelated to Signost. So just to give a bit of context. So yeah, as you might know, with identified signing in Signost, we've from the very first moment already had a link with some identity methods. So we've linked with SMS, for example, so you can sign a document by getting an SMS code and drawing a scribble. But we've also linked from a very early moment to Ideal, for example, so that you have to pay a cent to sign a document, and DigiID, so you can log in with your government EID to also sign a document. Yeah, so this for us was really good because yeah, we see competitors not offering these capabilities, and this yeah, really helps us when people want to sign documents to also say, yeah, now you can be really certain that indeed this person has signed the document. And this is yeah, something that is much harder on paper because yeah, if you scan and sign a paper document, yeah, it's really hard to know who actually signed it. So in the paper world, really, if you wanted to be sure that somebody signed your document, you had to be present in the same room as them and maybe even ask for their ID. Also in the digital world, there is a lot of electronic signing, but usually what happens is you get an email with a link, you click on it, you see the document, and you type your name or draw a scribble or something like that. And of course, that's all very possible very well in Signost, but with identified signing, we want to give our customers the capability of reaching a higher level with their signatures. And especially now that more and more identities are coming from European countries, from international parties, and also from Entrust, our organization that bought us a year back. Yeah, we really want to tie it together. So yeah, that customers can sign with any ID. So we are heavily investing into some protocols that we can start getting in identities as much as possible. For example, that we can support bank IDs from Sweden or government IDs from Germany or no matter where, that we have the capabilities to help you as a customer in that with those identities. So as a recap, what we've been doing is one of them is bring your own identity. So that we can show a list of identities and the signer can choose which one they want. The second one is that we are now able to also provide you with qualified certificates for your employees. More on that later. We are linking with a protocol called OpenID Connect. So if you have already an identity for your own employees or your own consumers, maybe you're using Azure for that or something, you can reuse that in Signost. And if you really don't have any identity platform, but you want one with Entrust IDaaS, we also have a product for that. So that's a short recap, but let's dive into the details. So a year or a few months back, we created the identity basket. So what we can do with that is really show a list of identities, and the customer can choose from themselves which one they want to use. So that can really help. So for example, for your organization, if you just say, I want to have a qualified signature on my document, let the customer choose what they maybe already have. So where we are also going to with that that's more of a look ahead in the future, is that we want to provide this choice. But if they don't have any of these options themselves, yeah, we can help them create either an on-the-fly qualified certificate. We can just say, okay, if you don't need qualified, but you can still sign by scanning your passport and your selfie. And also to have these capabilities prepared for the identity wallet from Europe, that it's coming probably in a year or two. During our summit, we really went deep into this subject about wallets and what they will do and what they will have. But on a more product level from our side, at least, be assured that we are working on it and preparing. So when wallets come, that we are able to show them in the list and that people can sign documents with their wallet they know. So yeah, this is a very strong way to get your documents signed, because as an organization, you do not have to know in advance what your people will be using. And you can really compare it to what's happening with payment methods. So if you buy a product online, you go to Amazon or Coolblue here in the Netherlands or another website. Amazon doesn't really know or care how you're going to pay. They just show a shopping cart and you select what you have. Maybe you have a credit card, maybe you have Afterpay, direct debit, Klarna, Ideal. The choice is up to you. They will just get the money. And we are looking at something similar with identity. So you send out the document for signing, let the signer decide what they have. In the end, for you, what's important is that the signature comes back on the right level. And now that qualified is becoming more and more prevalent, that's actually very easy, because no matter if it's an Entrust employee certificate, a ZOID European certificate, an ITSME certificate for Belgium and the Netherlands, you can just present a choice and the signer can choose what they want to use. And if the signer sees a whole list and they have no idea where to go next, we can help them create a certificate on the fly. So that's the idea of where we're going with bring your own identity. But the choice between providers is already in place. Next up is RSS signing. And as I mentioned in the overview, RSS is an Entrust product. It's called Remote Signing Service. And this is, in essence, a way to get qualified certificates for your employees. So as you might know, in the past, if you wanted a qualified certificate, you had to go to a qualified certificate provider in Europe. And what you needed to do then is make an appointment. Somebody came to your door, or you had to go to an office. You had to identify yourself to that person there. They would scan your documents and take a note of the identification. And then usually a few days to a week later, you would get or had to pick up a USB stick or a smart card containing your qualified certificate. Then you had to plug it into your computer via the USB port. You had to install middleware, and it would cost you a few hundred euros on a yearly basis. For some organizations, they had to. For example, if you want to do some RFPs for the government, you had to sign these documents with a qualified certificate. And also in some branches, you had to get qualified certificates. And it's usually, if you do cross-border business, at least when you have a qualified certificate, everybody knows that it's on the right level. But it was always very expensive, took a lot of time, and was very cumbersome with installing and the support of the people that needed to install those certificates. With RSS, it all moved to the cloud. So you can you have a portal where you can go and you can just invite all your colleagues. They get an email invite. They provide some ID proof by scanning their document with their camera or with their smartphone. And after a few hours, they are approved, and they will automatically be able to use an app to start signing the documents. It's of course similar, like maybe how an ITSME works or a ZooID works, but this is more focused on your own colleagues. So people that sign a lot of documents, for which maybe ZooID and ITSME is a bit expensive. And also this enables your organization to manage who has these certificates from a central place. So if somebody leaves the company, you can just revoke the certificate. Or when somebody leaves, the seat is open and you can just have somebody else take the place without having to buy a fully new certificate. What's also nice is that the organization name is in the certificate. So for example, it's not just the natural person signing the document, but it also shows that I'm part of Evidos, for example. So that's a good way to get a certificate. We are always getting a lot of questions from customers saying, hey, I need a qualified certificate. Can you guys help us out? With this we can. And also have enterprises get a lot of qualified certificates in a very easy way. Next up is OpenID Connect signing. And with that, I mean that we can reuse the identity your organization already has. So for example, we see a lot of customers that work with Azure. So when you sign into your computer, for example, or when you open your email, you are logging in with the same Azure credential for Microsoft all over the place with single sign-on. The idea of this new product is that we can leverage the identity your company already has. So if you want your own employees or your own consumers to sign your documents, and you want to bring that signature to a bit of a higher level than just using their email address, but you don't want to enroll them into a third-party app or use their IDIN or their bank ID for identification. This can be the perfect middle ground because we can let the person sign and they log in with their Azure credential or their Google credential or whatever, and we can get the information from their profile and put it in the receipt. So that way, you can be quite sure that it's your employee or your consumer because you've enrolled them into the identity with all the checks and balances you place. But they don't need to get a bank ID or a government ID to do that. So this can be very powerful and also a very recognizable signing process. So if you have a lot of your employees signing a document, you want to bring it to the higher level without having them to use an IDIN or a government ID. Think about reusing your company identity in Signhost, and contact us because we can help set it up. Next up is identity as a service. So if you are looking to do identity and access management, so if you want a product that really takes care of signing in, user management, resetting accounts, forgetting passwords, really securing logging in with mobile pushes, and you don't want to build it all yourself, IDaaS can be a very handy product to help you out with that. We also integrate with that via Signhost. So that's, I think, one way we leverage now that we are part of Entrust, that we can give more services. It's not just Signhost for signing documents. We can also help with qualified certificates and with identity solutions. So if you are interested, don't hesitate to reach out. And that brings us to the look ahead for identified signing. What are we going to do in the next year? So first up, hopefully something we can bring live this quarter is integrating with more qualified providers in Europe. Some examples are Vidua and DigiIdentity. So Vidua is a qualified provider, very focused on housing and real estate here in the Netherlands. So everybody who's Dutch and in the past year or two has purchased a house, for example, via a realtor or a notary, you probably received the opportunity to use Vidua to sign your contract. So yeah, they've been working hard in that sector. And we can also, we are looking to support signing the documents with that identity from Signost. DigiIdentity is taking a more whole Europe approach. So also part of our basket, if people already have a DigiIdentity, they can use it for signing documents. Next up is an Entrust product. It also ties into the basket I've shown you. Signing a document qualified if you don't have an app yet. And the idea there is that when you are invited via Signost and you have nothing on the list, you can go for consumer signing. So I think this employee has to be consumer. I did a little typo in the presentation. You can just say, I don't have a certificate, give me one. You perform an ID proof and you get a certificate that you can use once to sign this document. So that's a very easy way to start accepting qualified. Everybody with an international passport can do that without having to pre-enroll into a mobile app, for example. So we're looking to go live with that next year, probably end of Q1, beginning of Q2. So yeah, keep your eyes on our product releases, and we will inform when this is coming. Last on the list is ID proof signing. As you know, we have ID proof, we have Signost, and we should really combine the both, and that's what we're doing. So if you are signing a document, you can do a passport selfie check. You won't get a qualified certificate, but you will be able to finish signing. And that's a very good alternative for eID, such as IDIN. Because if you want an IDIN, you need to have a Dutch bank account. With passport signing, yeah, any passport goes, and we'll at least take the information from the passport and put it in the transaction receipt. So that way, it's also a great way to do KYC, because you know your customer, you can do a lot of checks and balances that you also do with IDIN for the anti-money laundering rules, but you just use the passport and ID card that they have available. So that's something we are working on. So it's, as I mentioned, it's not qualified because we are not actually giving a person a certificate when they do that, but we put the information from the documents in the receipt without them needing an eID. So that's very interesting from that perspective, that we now actually see that the document, the passport or the ID card, is starting to compete with available eIDs. Because if it becomes very easy with a smartphone and a passport to just identify yourself in one go, then it's not that you have to do this on a monthly basis as a consumer. Maybe you sign a loan agreement or a mortgage agreement once every 3, 4, 5 years. So by just providing a way to do passport signing, we can have people sign on a very high level. Without needing a bank account or a government ID. So we are also going to provide that option. Consumer signing I've mentioned. So the big thing here is that people can enroll, get their one-time use certificates in a very quick way. And on this slide, I wanted to give a bit of a summary, because there are some terms going around for eIDs, government IDs, and identity types. I've also had this slide on the summit, but just to show what kind of identities we already support and in which kind of category they fall. So the first and the most simple one is the self-issued identity, which means that you thought it up yourself. So with the Scribble, for example, it's something usually you do on lower school. You're a year or 5, 6, and you have a pen, and the teacher asks you, okay, now you're going to create your signature, and you practice that for a few days, and then it becomes your identity. And on paper, it works, yeah. It's you've thought up your own signature, you place it a lot, and then everybody knows that it's you who signed the document. But there's never a third party who checks what you've done. You issue it yourself. Also with the phone, that falls under it. You give your phone number, and then for signing with an SMS. Yeah, there is no government or bank or other third party who checks that. Next up is the corporate identity, and that's an identity you get from your company where you work. So that could be Microsoft identity in Azure when you sign into your laptop or you open your email. It can be Google, or it can be now with Entrust IDaaS. So as I mentioned, we can reuse this corporate identity to sign a document. Next up are the trusted EIDs. And this is usually where there is a central organization saying something about it. So with IDEN, it's the bank, and the bank says, I know you, you've opened an account with us. Maybe you came to the office. So I can also be sure that you are the person that opened an account with us, and I can share that information. So when you invite somebody to sign with IDEN, the bank says to you, I'm very certain that this is Paul Lout. Same goes with DigiID or other government IDs. The government knows who you are because you come to the municipality office, you pay your taxes, and they can reconfirm that identity to people who ask for it, like the tax agency or wherever you have to sign in with DigiID, the pension funds. And also the wallets will be part of that. And yeah, of course, you can use these EIDs to sign documents in Signhost. Next up are the trust service providers. That's a little different than just the EIDs, because with the trust service providers, usually you are getting a certificate. To put it easily. So it's not just that they say you are Paul Lout, this is your date of birth, but you're also getting a certificate you can use to sign a document qualified. And everybody can become an EID, but if you want to be a qualified trust service provider, there are very strict audits to become one. And for example, the European Union will actually put you on some sort of trust list. So everybody knows that your ID is trusted enough. Last in the list is the government ID. It's just the ID the government gave you. It's not an EID, it's your passport, it's your driver's license, it's your ID card. So there it's a physical document with digital elements, like an MRZ code or a chip. And this combines with these identities you can use to sign documents. And there are some signature types in the European law. The European law has 3 types of signatures. You have the standard signature, or the simple signature. It's basic. It's maybe an email verification. It's a scribble. It's a one-time password. And then there are the advanced signatures, which tell a bit more about the identity. So with advanced is usually the level we are doing with Signhost, because it's not just that you press a button or you get an email. We are also putting, we are securing the PDF, we are putting a timestamp in, we are combining some identity information we know. And of course, the better identity you use, the better your advanced signature will be. So, so there are some levels. If you are just doing an advanced signature, but you are using an SMS, for example, that's a different level than an advanced signature with a DigiID. So there it's really up to your target audience, what you want to choose to still keep signing a document simple, but use some extra evidence or some extra identity information. Last in the list is the qualified signature, and yeah, that is very tightly regulated. So there is no discussion. If you use a qualified signature, it's under European law. It's always the highest form of signing. It must be accepted in the other European countries. And even in the law, it states that there isn't allowed to be a higher level than qualified. So, and it's easy to check if you open a document that is signed qualified in Adobe or on the European Union website. They can automatically check if it's on the right level. And it looks a bit like this. So this is what comes back from Adobe. You see the green bar saying all the signatures are valid, but also that it's a qualified signature from me, for example. So yeah, a lot of info, but hopefully it gives you some context of what kind of identities are there and how they can be used for signing. And next up is our next product, ID Proof. In the meantime, let's check if there are some more questions. I think one question was still about the web forms. Indeed, web forms support input validation. So for example, a bank, an IBAN number always consists of the same logic and has to be calculated. A postal code always consists of a few digits and two letters, for example. So that's the power for web forms when you compare it to normal PDF forms, that indeed input validation and pattern checking is possible. The other one is about Fidua. Does Fidua work if the realtor works with Fidua? What we are doing there with Fidua is that we support Fidua as a signing method. So if the people you want to sign a document, your signers, if they already have the Fidua app, they will be able to use it in SignHost. For that to work, we need to turn on Fidua in your account. And when it's turned on in your account, you can invite people for signing and they can reuse their Fidua app. For turning on it on in your account, that's something which we have to activate. So don't hesitate to reach out to our colleagues or our sales team, and we can explain how we can set it up for you. But that's the good thing, that if people already have a Fidua app, yeah, they can just reuse that certificate. Next question is, what advanced signature do you recommend for non-EU countries? Yeah, that's an interesting one, because we have a competitor most people know is DocuSign. They've been doing e-signatures a lot internationally with just having people draw a scribble, for example. It doesn't say a lot about the identity of those persons, but in the past it has been accepted in America and in other countries, for example. Now, what we really are going for and are recommending is with ID proof signing, because there we can use a passport or an ID card, and that's the same format all over the globe, because it's not something from the EU, it's something from the United Nations saying how a passport or ID card should look like. And by using ID proof signing, you can be sure that everybody should be able to sign, because I think nowadays everybody has a smartphone and a passport or an ID card. Otherwise, they are not able to travel. So that can be a one-stop shop to really get advanced signing from all over the world on a nice level, where you can be sure of identity, and at least a lot surer compared to just people drawing a scribble with the mouse. So yeah, keep an eye on our product page. When we are moving closer to launch, we'll definitely send updates there. Next up on the recap, it's ID Proof. So ID Proof is our upgrade on SignHost, where you can identify a person remotely. So what we do with ID Proof is you can send people to a URL. They can scan it with their smartphone, scan their passport, scan their selfie, and then we provide you with an identity dossier. And we can put that identity dossier in your SignHost portal, but we can also distribute it via email or via an API call to you. So ID Proof, and I've explained also a bit on the beginning of this webinar, this was really set up because the technology is there. People have smartphones with good cameras, documents can be scanned, and also there are chips nowadays that can be used. So in ID Proof, we've added some new capabilities. One of them is that we added it to our app. Another one is that we performed a lot of scanning and AI performance. And also a few weeks back, we've added backside recognition for BSNs in the passport. So let's go through those features one by one. One of them is that we've added ID Proof to the app. So a lot of our customers that are using ID Proof right now, they are on the OCR version. And that's a very nice functionality because you can use your mobile phone, you can scan the password with your camera, you don't need to install an app. With the camera, the characters from the document are read, and you make a selfie and we can create a dossier. However, you are always reliant on the camera then. And of course, with the camera, the quality needs to be good. Maybe the lighting is not well enough. So there is a different way to scan a passport or an ID card, and that is by scanning the chip in the document. So it's the same technology that you can use to pay with your mobile phone in the supermarket. There is a little chip reader in your phone, and you can use it to scan a document. The good part is that these chips are very highly secured. So when you perform an NFC scan, you can be very, very sure that this document is real. And yeah, it is the highest form of security available worldwide. It's also used by traveling, by notaries. So this is a very nice way. But in the past, when you wanted to go ahead with ID Proof, you had to make a choice. So you could say, okay, we go ahead with OCR because we don't want our persons to install apps. Or you could say, okay, we want to do NFC, but if people don't have an NFC enabled document or their smartphone does not support NFC, they are out of luck. With our mobile app, we found a great middle ground. So what our app is doing, and indeed you need an app for it, but the app scans if the mobile and the document are NFC capable. If that is indeed the case, then we will try to check the chip. If it's not the case, we will just use OCR via the camera. So that way you can always be sure that the document proofing is on the highest level available. If there's NFC, let's do NFC. If not, let's proceed with OCR. That will give the best evidence possible because yeah, whatever is there will be used. But it will also give the best user experience because otherwise, if you enforce NFC, but the person will just stare at and say, okay, now what's next? And maybe now I have to go to your office, or they drop out of the process. And by going back to OCR, at least they are able to continue and to finish ID Proof. You will get a dossier, and from there you can decide what to do with the dossier. You can say, okay, we really want NFC, but at least they have an OCR dossier, they are good to go. Or you can say, okay, it's good that I have the dossier, but I still want to perform an extra check. And this can be automated because our API simply says if NFC was checked or not. And based on that, you can make a decision on how to further identify. So NFC it's a very nice capability, and it really helps you identify people remotely. But on the other hand, the OCR technology definitely does not stand still. So what we've done is we've in a previous release from a few weeks back, we really updated our OCR scanning capabilities. We can now leverage the newest smartphone camera tech, 4K pictures. So the character recognition and what we read from the passport or ID card is of a much higher quality. And also the AI elements before the picture is automatically taken are also better. So it will detect better if there is any glare, light from above, or blurriness, and it won't take a picture if it recognizes that. And that's all running on our app SDK. So that really helps that not people are taking pictures, they have to wait for the result, but the pictures are only taken if the results will probably be okay. So it's a much faster and better user experience. And also in our liveness check, yeah, the backend has been improving because yeah, it's these kinds of identifications and security. It's always an arms race, both in the physical world and in the digital. there is more deepfake technology, and there is also better technology to stop the deepfakes. And yeah, we are of course keeping up to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve and detect any fraud and deepfakes that are popping up. For our Dutch customers, there is also better passport backside detection. So last summer, so a year ago, the Dutch government started to distribute new passports, and in their decided that the BSN should be taken out of the passport chip, but also should be taken out of the machine readable zone. So that really made it difficult to scan the BSN. However, there are organizations that are mandated to save the BSN. If you are a staffing agency or HR, or you do in finance, if you write out loans for the reinsignering, as it is called, you are mandated to get the BSN and to prove that you did the right identity checking, and also that the BSN was captured as part of that process. By taking the BSN out of the chip and out of the MRZ on the front, this was suddenly much more difficult. So with our IDV partner, we made sure that we now have a new version that is automatically checking what version of the Dutch passport we are seeing. So the moment a person is going to perform ID proof, they take a picture of the front side of the passport. The algorithm then knows, this is a new Dutch passport. We have to take a look at the back. Then they are prompted to flip over the passport. We take a picture of the back, and we scan the QR code to get the BSN out to be able to put it in the dossier. Convoluted, many more steps than just getting it from the MRZ or the chip, but at least we now have an automated capability. So if you are an organization that needs BSN, we have in ID Proof the capability now to also scan it from the new Dutch passport. Of course, if you just want an identity verification for anti-money laundering, but you do not want to process the BSN, we still have the capability to not put it in the dossier and to not take images. So that's of course still very possible. And that's just a configuration setting, so we can either turn it on or off in your account. Then a look ahead for ID Proof. Some steps. I think one big one that we've mentioned in an earlier subject is ID Proof signing. So ID Proof will be a method you can choose to sign a document with, and it will be presented during signing. So by combining the both, we will really have a nice answer for international signing on a higher level. And on the other steps, we are just keeping up and front running with the NFC and the OCR and the AA technology. So if we see new technologies coming up, we will make sure to put them in ID Proof, so that in the end, it's a very easy customer experience. And we are really, from the first moment we introduced ID Proof, we were always having the strategy that it should be instant. We should not wait on manual approval. The algorithms and the AI should be good enough to really give a validation instantly, and then our customers will get that dossier, and from there have an understanding to ask further things or if it's good enough. And that's something we will keep doing with ID Proof. Improve the auto capture, improve the NFC scanning, and improve the technology to detect frauds and deepfakes. So that was the ID Proof subject. Let's see if there are some more questions coming in. I see no further questions about ID Proof. Again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the Q&A. And then let's move on to the next subject, our mobile app. So in our app, we've also been introducing a lot of features and also some stuff that's not available in either our API or our portal. So our app is becoming more and more full-fledged. So if you want to sign a document easily, you can use our app with Signhost to make that happen. So at a basic level, our app is very easy to create a transaction, to invite somebody for signing, to leverage the apps you have already on your phone to get contact details and documents in and out. But on the other end, we have some nice new capabilities that can really bring our app to the next level. So one that we very recently released is Scan and Sign. So what it's doing is that, for example, when you get a paper document to sign, instead of going to a scanner, you can use our app. And what it's doing is there is a widget in there that helps you take a picture of every page of the contract very quickly. It automatically adjusts the corners a bit, so the document is scanned in. You can put a signature position on there with drag and drop, sign it, and maybe also say, I want another person to also sign. So this makes signing paper documents easier than ever without needing to run to a scanner, get the PDF in, upload it to the portal, place a signature with drag and drop. Just use our app with your camera and you're good to go in minutes. Another one is adding text to the PDF before sending the invite. Especially on mobile, it can happen that you have a document and you really want to add some small details, maybe your name or somebody else's name or any other thing like a price. Or we now have a little text editor as part of the app on iOS to edit the PDF a bit before sending it to sign. Thing we are looking to bring to Android. But yeah, that can really help in a workflow on mobile where you want to edit something quickly, but especially on the mobile phone, you don't have a full document editor available. Also works very nice in conjunction with Scan and Sign. So you scan a paper document, you use the text editor to add some little text on it, fill in some information you need to fill in without doing it with pen, and signing it yourself and maybe having somebody else sign as well. Third is we added ID Proof to the app. I've explained that in the previous subject. And also we added account creation to the app so that it's easier when you install the app to create a Signhost account, and you need less steps to make that happen or go to the portal. So yeah, that is also to help new people experience and try Signhost directly when installing the app. Looking ahead, as I mentioned, we have the text feature. We also bring it to Android, so we also always try to have iOS and Android be on the same level functionally. But we are also looking to rebrand the app, same as we're doing with our portal, so that we really have one color scheme, one UI, one experience. And in the app, it's more meant for the smaller screen, and on the portal, it's more meant for the larger screens, but that it's really a consistent feel of working with our platform. So also in the coming month or two, we are rebranding the app to have one identity. Yeah, that concludes the webinar with, of course, the features and what we're doing and what we're going to do. We have a public website where our roadmap, our announcements, and also our IDs are. You can subscribe on that. So, for example, if you use our portal, subscribe on just the portal, and you will get portal updates in your inbox. Same for the API or the app. So there you can really make a distinction, so you're not flooded with updates, but really can subscribe on the stuff that's important for you. But also there you can see what's on the roadmap. You can give feedback or on individual items. You can like announcements or give feedback on how they can help you out. And also there is an IDs inbox. So when we get new IDs in, we also publish them there, and people can vote on that, so we can see what is like best. So I invite everybody, please subscribe. use it as a channel to give your feedback, because it ends up directly in me and my colleagues' inbox, and the product team can use that to really shape our future roadmap. So for everybody that already subscribed, thanks a lot. For everybody that hasn't, please do, and help us make Cynos and ID-Proof better for you guys. And that concludes the webinar. Please, if you have any further questions, now is a good moment to put them in the chat or in the Q&A section. Leave some time for people to do that. And on the other hand, I want to really thank you all for attending, asking your questions. I hope you find it informative, what I've told, and you like where Cynos and ID-Proof is going. And with that, I'm signing off. Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon. See you soon. Bye-bye.